Movie Review by Rob.
Well, hey guys, Rob here, and I brought with me this week Allie, who's going to help me review this movie. Basically, that I probably wouldn't have seen if not for the fact that it was a midnight showing at the historic Baltimore Senator Theater, and I haven't seen a movie there since The Dark Knight. So that's almost 2 years going on now. So I had to jump at the opportunity for like this first movie in a while. Of course, I am talking about in the new installment of the Twilight series, Eclipse. Now, I guiltily enough, and I'm not about to say that I like it, I have seen all three in theaters, mostly by default or whatever. Now I know Allie and I date, and before we started dating, she went to the theater to see the first one and enjoyed it.
No.
She says she doesn't enjoy it. You gotta speak up, they can't hear you. She says she doesn't enjoy it, but I remember having specific conversations about how I was saying it was a piece of crap movie, and she said she enjoyed it a lot.
Not a lot, just
You saw
a
it twice
little.
in theaters. You took people to see it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
The first one I only saw once, the second one I saw
No, you
twice.
took your roommate to see it as well.
Oh, well, that's because she wanted to.
So you saw it twice.
But I didn't want
I
to.
digress.
I didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
anyway.
sure. And so let's just say I haven't read the books. You tried to read the book?
Yeah, and
The
I
first
couldn't
one
get
at
through
least?
it at all. It was terrible.
I've heard horrible things about it, and I try to stay unbiased towards movies and judge them differently if I haven't read the source material behind them. But this audience that we saw it in was completely filled with teenage girls and older women and a few strange guys. So
Yeah.
they were hooting and hollering, and they were separating into Teen Jacob and
Some gay guys,
Team
too.
Edward.
There was a gay guy behind us.
How do you know he was gay?
He said, "Ooh, look at him,"
Oh,
when Jacob took off his shirt.
All right, getting
was a
into
guy.
that. It's directed by David Slade, who's a new director so far for the series. David Slade, I was actually looking for something like to improve upon this film because he's the director of Hard Candy and 30 Days of Night, so I was like, that's a very odd movie for him to go into. Unfortunately, I think the story is so bland and even the action is so, like, generic and kiddie that he didn't offer much to it.
Except turning vampires into rock.
Yeah, that was a weird, you gotta say things out loud, they can't hear you.
Okay,
Like,
sorry.
the vampires, for some reason, when killed, turn into rocks or something. It's very odd. I mean, we have the same cast returning. I have to look it up, because I'm not big. I know Robert
Bella,
Pattinson,
Kristen
who plays
Stewart.
Edward, Kristen Stewart, who plays Bella, and I think it was Taylor. He's at the bottom of the list here, even though he's like the main one featured. Taylor Lautner plays Jacob Black.
Lautner, I think maybe.
Lautner.
Yeah.
But the overall plot of this one is it picks up where the second one left off, where they are sitting in a field, which right off gets on my nerves because I don't like the fact that vampires can be out in a field during the day.
Well, it kind of starts off with that weird scene where everyone was like, "Is this the movie?" Because it's like all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to say that. I mean, that's not.
Well, it
that's
was just
not
weird,
related
and
to
then
the plot
yeah.
somewhat. I mean, it is related to the plot, but they're not going to care about that. They're not going
Yeah.
to know until they see it. But as far as like where the actual story, going back to the main characters,
Right.
picks up, it's in a field during the day, and they're having some close, heart-to-heart conversation about she wants to be turned into a vampire. He doesn't want to turn her into a vampire.
The same conversation
He wants
that
her to
we've
marry
had.
her, but she doesn't want to marry him because you find out in the second one that like he proposes to her, and that's where it ends. My biggest complaint with this movie is that it teaches teenage girls teenage girls and teenage boys two lessons that I think are grossly inaccurate. The first lesson being that a teenage girl can manipulate guys, basically, and into getting what they want, and playing this love triangle.
This
and,
whole
and,
entire movie, she's just tossing them
it's
around like
between
it's no
her
big
and
deal.
Jacob, and I mean her, Jacob, and Edward, and the fact that she doesn't have feelings for him, but she does, and the fact that she still really doesn't know much about Edward other than the fact that he's a vampire. That really bothers me. That you could fall head over heels and be willing to be a vampire and all this stuff for someone you know little to nothing about other than that she's attracted to him and he will kill her. Second lesson that I don't like is that it teaches teenage boys that if they push themselves on a girl enough times, like forcing themselves on there and telling her, you love me, even though you won't admit it, you love me, and then forcing a kiss on them, that eventually the girl will admit that she loves them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was true. Now, I think the character of Bella is a horrible character. She embodies everything in a girl that I would not want. She's
miserable.
Every time they're supposed to be happy, they're miserable. They always look sad. They always look depressed. Her life means nothing when Edward's not around. And yet she keeps putting herself in situations with Jacob that make Edward like jealous.
Yeah, what the heck?
And then makes out with her.
So I was telling somebody this the other day how, actually it was yesterday, how every time we see Edward and Bella and all them, they're miserable. And they were like, oh, it's a vampire thing. But I'm like, no, it's not. Because, for example, Edward's sister, the really happy one, I forget her name. She reminds me of, like, Tinkerbell.
Is it the one played by...
With the short hair.
I don't know. You know who else is in this? The girl
She's
from...
always happy. So it's just Edward and Bella. They're always miserable, and they never smile.
It's, yeah. And what's her name? I'm looking for the Anna Kendrick, who's up in the air and all. She's big upcoming actress. She's playing a high school student. And, I mean, she's recurring the role that she started in Twilight, but, like, she was brilliant in Up in the Air.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to this, like, yay, like, she gives this giant speech in the high school the high school graduation about how, like, yay, things are gonna happen, but we don't need to care. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. The movie just, it speaks to teenagers in a way where you wouldn't want to speak to teenagers because it's complete ridiculous bullcrap. And the film in general, like, the dialogue is so drawn out. The whole plot of the movie is the same thing over and over. It's this love triangle that just doesn't stop.
We hear the same conversation
Every scene is the same conversation over and over and over. The conversations with past vampires about not wanting them to be vampires. It's the same crap over and over. And the climax, which is a battle where the werewolves and the vampires team up together to take on an army of vampires that only turns out to be like 10 vampires led by Victoria, the redhead, ends in like a horribly cliche, you know, abrupt, no big deal ending. And then Dakota Fanning comes in and says something with her pale skin and her red eyes, and now we're supposed to wait for the next one.
She didn't even need to be in the movie at all.
The movie is a complete waste of time, and I hate saying that because I like to say there's redeeming features of every film, but if you really like this stuff, you're into corny, nonsensical love stories, and to a point, I am too. I like corny, nonsensical love stories when they're original and they're thought-provoking and the characters, like, make leaps and bounds towards, like, some new height in learning, but in this one, it's just like they're not getting anywhere, and I already know where this story's going, and I don't need to read it, and I don't need to see it. Now, I went and saw it because I said I was in the theater, that I really wanted to see a movie in, and because
like, this is the first movie they've shown in...
The Senator since, like, for a while, at least.
Yeah.
So, but overall, this film is by far, like, a 1 out of 5 for me. It was unbearable. Unbearable.
It was, I think, 40 minutes in when we first looked at our watch.
Felt like I was there for, like, ever. It's like 2 hours long. So, what would you, out of 5, what would you give it?
Probably 1.5.
And this is a girl, so, and, like, that's another thing, is that this movie's chock full of, like, shirtless Jacob and moody Edward, and it's really, like, sitting in an audience of teenage girls, you see these teenage girls swooning over these, and, like, actually mouthing out every time, oh, he's cute. I could hear that around me. And, like, clapping and applauding when, and like,
saying, woo, when
stupid, like, he took his shirt off, and I'm like, really? This is what film has come to? Like, I mean, I know when I was a kid, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I was watching Harry Potter, and, like, that's not for everyone, but at least that wasn't, like, Harry Potter taking his shirt off and everyone, like, flipping out.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You know? I mean, I watch stupid teen movies, and, like, hopefully these girls will grow up and they will realize that the way they are acting is the way girls when I was younger acted towards Jonathan Taylor Thomas. And he's not around anymore. So.
Just saying.
Just saying. Alright, so, sorry it went on a little bit, but I had to tell you how bad this movie was. We saw it 2 nights ago. I wanted to bring it right away, but it had to stew in me for a while because it was so bad. It was one of the worst films I've ever seen. It looked nice. I mean, the cinematography was okay.
Yeah.
But it was plot-wise
well, maybe
piece of
that's
crap.
its redeeming feature.
No, I would still not recommend to see it, even based on the cinematography. It's just complete crap.
Yeah.
So, I know later this week we have Predators. Well, I know Last Airbender came out this week. Heard it was very kiddie and heard it wasn't that good. Anthony and Sean, I believe, reviewed it. I did not get a chance to see it, but they kind of deterred me from seeing it for right now. But July 9th is Predators, so I'm very looking forward to that with Adrian Brody and all, and Topher Grace. But yeah, so that hopefully will be my next review. And I've noticed a lot of people are reviewing my Paranormal Activity 2 film right now because the new Paranormal Activity 2 trailer was released. If you haven't seen the short, check it out on my page. I do not promise that it is good. We shot it in an hour, and it is not like something original. It's making fun of Paranormal Activity. So people are like, oh, bad acting, this is stupid, this is just the first... It was a joke that we did that somehow 149,000 people have viewed. So, there you go. Until next time, thank you for joining Allie and myself this week, and I will see you next week. So take care.